The U.S. War of Independence. The United States War of Independence is also known as the American Revolutionary War, or the United States War of Independence. There was an armed conflict between the Kingdom of Great Britain and the 13 colonies of North America, which had declared its independence from the United States of America. After the War of the 7 Years, a feeling of discontent with the metropolis began to grow in the British colonies in America. Based on philosophical and political differences sharpened by the collapse of the ties between the Corona and the peoples of the American colony. After the introduction of the Law of Stamp of 1765, the Patriots, as the pro-independence Americans were called, protested the idea of non-representative taxes and started boycotts against the British. A group known as the Sons of Liberty ended up destroying In Charge of You in the port of Boston. The British government responded by closing the city's ports and approving punitive measures against Massachusetts. The settlers, in turn, instituted the Suffolk Resolutions, establishing a parallel government to try to wrest control of the areas outside the city of Boston from the British. Representatives from the American colonies then established the Continental Congress to coordinate resistance efforts and establish committees and conventions to effectively seize power. In April 1775, the British attempted to disarm the rebel militias that had taken over rural Massachusetts, precipitating the first armed confrontation of the war. American militiamen then laid siege to Boston and finally, in March 1776, forced the British to evacuate. At the same time, the revolutionaries attempted to invade Quebec to try to draw Canadians into the conflict, but failed. On July 2, 1776, with violence escalating in the 13 colonies, the Continental Congress voted for independence, proclaiming it 2 days later, on July 4. Sir William Howe, commander of the British Army in the American colonies, ordered a counterattack and his forces launched an invasion north, conquering New York City and parts of New Jersey, shaking the morale of the American revolutionaries. However, the rebel victories at Trenton and Princeton restored confidence in the American cause. In 1777, the British, under General John Burgoyne, launched a major campaign to rid New York and Vermont of rebels, isolating the New England region. The British command, however, did not act cohesively, and General Howe preferred to conduct a campaign of his own, capturing Philadelphia. Without support, Burgoyne was finally defeated at the decisive Battle of Saratoga in October 1777. The outcome of the Saratoga campaign was important as it convinced France, England's rival, to enter the conflict on the side of the Americans in 1778. The following year, Spain, through the Pacte de Famille, allied itself with the French and the Americans. The British had to change strategy, with General Charles Cornwallis moving troops for a wide-ranging campaign in the south, where the Loyalist presence was strongest, but this did not translate into an advantage. In 1780, tensions grew and threatened to escalate the conflict far from the American continent, for example with the outbreak of the Anglo-Dutch War. The English began to suffer a series of reverses, such as at the important Battle of Cowpens, forcing Cornwallis to withdraw to Yorktown, Virginia, where he planned an evacuation. The French Navy then defeated the British fleet at the Chesapeake, cutting off the British escape route. A Franco-American army under the command of Jean-Baptiste de Rochambeau, the Comte de Rochambeau, and George Washington marched on Yorktown and forced the surrender of Cornwallis and his troops. The War of the 13 Colonies has always divided opinion in the British Parliament, with the Whigs opposing the Tories, the latter favouring a continuation of the conflict. After Cornwallis surrendered in October 1781, the anti-war movement in England gained momentum. In 1782, British parliamentarians voted to end all military operations in North America. On September 3, 1783, the two main belligerents signed the Treaty of Paris, formally ending the war, where the United Kingdom recognized the sovereignty of the United States as an independent nation. France's involvement in the conflict proved decisive for American victory, but overall the French gained little and saw their economy collapse. This video is just a summary, and of course many things were left out. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to our channel and see you next time.